A peaceful mass protest in Hong Kong over an extradition bill descended into violence as several hundred protesters clashed with police outside the city's parliament. Hundreds of thousands of people had jammed Hong Kong's streets earlier to protest against the bill in the biggest demonstration in years. Many fear it will put the city's legal independence at risk. Zachary Goelman reports.
Protesters clashed with police in Hong Kong in the early hours of Monday as several hundred demonstrators tried to force their way into the city's parliament. Images show police waving batons and deploying a water cannon. The scuffles came hours after hundreds of thousands of protesters had marched peacefully through the city to protest against a new potential law which would allow Beijing to extradite Hong Kong suspects to mainland China for trial.
No China extradition! No China extradition!
And that in turn raised fears among activists about China's grip on the semi-autonomous island. The demonstrations were the biggest against the Chinese government in at least 15 years. Reuters correspondent James Pomfret spent the day in the streets.
People here aren't just your hardcore protesters. You have ordinary citizens. You have fathers, mothers, kids, and they don't feel comfortable if the law is enacted because it will allow China, in effect, to impose or part of its legal system to encroach into Hong Kong for the first time ever. And this march could be a turning point in finally persuading the authorities to either postpone or scrap it.
The bill will be debated on Wednesday and could come into effect at the end of this month. Hong Kong's leader, Carrie Lam, has tweaked the proposal but refused to scrap the bill, prompting calls for her resignation.
I think it's such an overwhelmingly large number of people that it will be very difficult for Hong Kong's leader Carrie Lam and the Beijing communist leaders to ignore this.
Senior judges in Hong Kong have expressed their concern over a lack of trust in Chinese courts, and human rights groups are worried about the use of torture and the lack of judicial rights on the mainland.
And that was Zachary Goelman reporting.